Good morning. And welcome to Theodore Parker Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Nancy Wilbur. My pronouns are she, hers. And I was just thinking as I sat there that I've been coming to this church longer than I lived in my hometown. So, which means I've also been a UU longer than I've been a Presbyterian. So as we enter into worship, let us bring ourselves here. We bring with us all of the sorrows and the joys of our week. And we know that here we are held in loving community. Here we are reminded that we are a part of something larger than ourselves. Here we seek to counter oppression, to work for healing and justice in a bruised and broken world. Here we invite all of you to bring your perspectives, your beliefs and your beliefs and doubts, and all that is unique and wondrous about you to our service in the spirit of love. All are welcome here. For those joining us in person, a few things you may want to know. You can use the QR codes at either entrance or in your pews to bring up the order of service on your phone, or take one of the large print copies available at either entrance. Our service is being recorded today and will be available on YouTube later. If you would like to have a joy or a concern shared with our congregation today during our meditation and prayer time, we invite you to fill out a card anytime before our meditation hymn. They are on the table to your left. I'm sorry, the table to my left, your right. You may also light a silent candle of joy or concern at any time during our worship service, or use the space in the far back corner for private reflection during the service. People of all ages are welcome to move about in the sanctuary as they need to, or to make themselves comfortable in this cozy zone in front of the first pew. Children's programming for elementary school age kids is happening today. We also have childcare available for children under 4 in the nursery located in our parish hall. Many thanks to Deanna, who is our camera point person today, and to Jake, who is our Zoom usher. If you are new to Theodore Parker Church or are visiting today, we'd love to stay in touch. You're invited to fill out a connection card, which will give you an opportunity to sign up for our weekly updates and help us welcome you. A link to the connection card will be in the chat, as well as our contact information. Those joining us here in the sanctuary are encouraged to fill out the contact card you'll find in your pews within the welcome brochure, and to drop that in the offertory. We'd like to take a moment to greet each other. For those of you on Zoom, putting your video on for this time helps us connect. Jake, could you please put our sanctuary screen and gallery view, Deanna, so we can see our off-site congregation. I guess that's up. Let's give each other a big wave. Sanctuary folks, the camera's in the back. Hi. It's under the clock there. As we continue to greet each other, if you're online, you might post a hello in the chat. If you are physically in the sanctuary, we invite you to greet one another and say good morning, and please ask for consent before offering a hug or handshake. Please greet one another. I invite us all to be seated. Let's be seated as Yukiko shares our prelude. The prelude is from the collection called Stories. Our prelude.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Heather Concannon. My pronouns are she, hers, and I am the minister of this congregation. And I welcome us into worship with these words by Leah Ongiri, Weavers of One Story. Here we are together, each facing our different human tasks, or maybe the same central one, to embrace the lessons life delivers, to discern and respond as we grow, to refuse harm and cherish flourishing. May we know ourselves as vessels of infinite possibility, holders of each other's heartaches and tales of joy alike, weavers of one story in which we each have our part. I invite us to rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, number 298 in your gray hymnal, Wake Now My Senses, and the words will also be up on the slides.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power
Please join me now in saying our shared covenant, our chalice lighting words, which we say each week, both in English and in Spanish. The Spanish is in honor of our sibling community in Plazuelas, El Salvador. I think Eleanor is going to come up to light the chalice. Great. The words will be up on your screen. Please say them with me. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth and love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es nuestra oración. Esta es nuestra gran promesa, vive juntos en paz, buscar la verdad con amor y ayudarnos los unos a los otros.
So friends, this morning we have a little bit of a different type of worship service than we usually do. For one thing, typically in this moment we would be sharing a message for all ages, but I'm going to use this time to introduce our service a little bit before our kids go to their children's chapel programming this morning. And today, instead of me sharing a sermon, several of you, members of our congregation, will be sharing messages of wisdom and hope and inspiration with us. This morning, we consider our monthly theme of story, and I was interested in exploring some of the stories of this congregation, particularly the stories of people in our community sharing how they are working to build a world they believe is possible. Because I believe that working toward another world happens not because of one or two charismatic leaders or influential people in politics, but bit by bit, because of social movements and organizing, because of communities and families. It happens in local school boards and fights for inclusive policies. It happens by noticing what's needed in our communities and working to bring those things into being. And I know that I could have shared so many of you here today to ask so many of you here today to share with us, because I see so many ways that so many of us are working to live our values in the world, trying to do what we can to bring about a world of more peace, more justice, more kindness, and more love. So today I asked the people who will be sharing reflections, what is the world you believe is possible, and how are you working to build it? And I know, like many of you, I am wondering what kind of world is even possible, let alone likely, in the short term, as the inauguration of a new administration draws closer. And many of our worship leaders today shared that they too don't know what is possible, but shared inspirational and meaningful work that they are doing in spite of that. I've been thinking a lot about how we can hold on to hope in these times, hold on to our own agency, hold on to what our hearts know is possible, even if it feels far away, even if we never get there in our lifetime, even if it feels like we are moving in the wrong direction. Because I think it's important spiritually to hold on to a sense of it doesn't have to be like this, and something else, something more beautiful could be. And to find in the midst of that what sustains each of us, find the places in both small and profound ways where we can act and bring our values and our hope to life. Author Arundhati Roy has a quote that many people have heard. "Another world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing." Have you heard this quote? It's an often repeated quote that's actually an excerpt of a much longer piece, which I think is even more powerful and all the more relevant to our time and its context. So here's the larger excerpt from her book, War Talk, written in the early 2000s. She writes, "Our strategy should not only be to confront empire, but to lay siege to it, to deprive it of oxygen, to shame it, to mock it. With our art, our music, our literature, our stubbornness, our joy, our brilliance, our sheer relentlessness, and our ability to tell our own stories. Stories that are different from the ones we are being brainwashed to believe. The corporate revolution will collapse," she writes, "if we refuse to buy what they are selling. Their ideas, their version of history, their wars, their weapons, their notion of inevitability. Remember this, We be many and they be few. They need us more than we need them. Another world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing. So friends, in this moment, let us refuse to buy what empire is selling. Let us refuse the notion of inevitability, and instead let us be inspired by ordinary and extraordinary daily acts that each of us are capable of, that we are already doing in working to build a world that is more kind and more loving and more beautiful. Because I think in these times we need every ounce of kindness and love and hope and beauty that we can find. And we need a reminder that it is not just me or other leaders, it is truly, as our song said today, all of us as we mingle our callings with all who would share. So this morning I want to thank Mary Russell, Katie Bittner, Eileen Montour, Allison Baer, and Jessie Littlewood for sharing their reflections and their expressions of love for the world with us. So we're going to sing Our Children Out now, and then our first reflection will be shared by Mary Russell.
Thank you, Reverend Heather, for the invitation to talk about stories of working to build the world you want to see. One thing about building the world you want to see is that you cannot see it. And that's a problem. It begs the question of where does that change come from and how to build what is not seen. I do not have an answer as to the world I believe is possible or could exist, but I do have an idea about a general, all-around, useful process for making more possibilities exist. And that is to start with the truths that resonate deep within us, ideas that are only dimly available to us as they are obscured by the illusions of who we are, assumptions, cultural narratives, expectations, beliefs. Ideas that might not quite fit the overarching narrative of current life. Those ghostly images and niggling ideas lying at the edges of our minds often flit away when exposed to the light of our vision. Thus, the process involves seriously and kindly attending to our inner life and challenging ourselves to tease out the illusions obscuring our vision. Paying attention, opening our eyes as much as possible, giving up the illusions that don't serve us well, can help a newly possible world grow into being. That process of challenging our thinking and seeking a more realistic view of ourselves and our world can be applied to any subject of life and is most effective when accompanied with a great deal of kindness towards ourselves and others. Illusion busting, as both a subject and a source of power in art, caught my eye when I was questioning whether I could call myself an artist rather than a painter. My ears perked up when I heard artists and writers on the radio, on podcasts, talk about the role of truth in art. That art is something and everything that makes us see, that makes us look at ourselves, that art should be a discourse using composition, visual art should be a discourse using composition, color, texture, and scale to make us pay attention, think about things, and become moved to repair. I loved that, so I decided to call myself an artist. That is how I became a painter/artist of climate science. I was seeking relief from my personal and our cultural narrative of innocence and helplessness. The narrative I sought to interrupt is that we can have everything. We do not need to change. This illusion serves to keep us from seeing. To disrupt this narrative, I had to stare directly at the immense destruction, the scale of loss, and not look away. I find I could not respond until it became a crisis inside myself and could acknowledge that I am simultaneously within the climate emergency as well as an active causal participant. Actor Tilda Swinton suggested that art offers an opportunity to be quiet and still, and to allow in that stillness for a connection to form and for resonances to arise from inside. My climate work will be up at the West Roxbury Library in February, amazingly, simultaneously with this, in a show called Narrative Interrupted. My goal is to put the reality of the climate emergency on the wall in color and shape and scale in order to break the silence and allow us to process, to mourn, and to reflect together. Then perhaps we will feel the spark of courage and connection with others that make action and new worlds so much more possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. So we enter into a time now of meditation and prayer, and we have a chance to share what joys and concerns are on our heart. If you're here in the sanctuary and would like to share a joy or concern this morning, you can fill out a prayer card right here during our centering hymn. And if you're joining us on Zoom today and wish to share a joy or a concern, you can do so in the chat box, and I will read it out loud. As we deepen into this space of meditation and prayer, I invite you to enter into this moment. Feel yourself here and now. Take a few nurturing breaths and find inside yourself a space of stillness. I invite us to remain seated as we join in singing our centering hymn, Let the Life I Lead. Ruth will lead us, and the lyrics will be on our slides.
Let the life I lead
morning, our joys and our concerns include a joy from Nancy Wilbur for the return of 500 acres of ancestral land forest to the Nipmuc. So glad for this gift to them. A joy from Frank Lasky in remembrance of the late President Jimmy Carter, a man of faith, honor, and action. From Carol Allen, prayers for the people in California who have lost everything. Sorrow for the devastation which tragically looks very much like what is happening in Gaza and Ukraine. And a sorrow from Kit Shaw, a prayer of hope and strength for my friends in my previous home city of Los Angeles as they deal with the devastating fires. And for all of these joys and all of these concerns, and for all that remain unspoken in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts, we light one final candle. And we join together in a spirit of meditation and prayer. Spirit of love and justice, spirit that moves through our lives and encourages us toward action, invites us to imagine something different. Be present to us now. Be present to us when we need vision and moral clarity more than ever. Be present to us in this time of devastating ideologies, wildfires, news, policies. Be present to us among the destruction we see all around us. Be present to us in our grief and in our rage that is an expression of our love. Spirit that connects us, reminds us that we find beauty too. Remind us that around us there is extraordinary and ordinary acts of love and courage each and every day. Remind us that we each have a small part to play. Remind us that our anger and our heartbreak are sacred. Spirit of love, hold us now in community. Assure us that we are not alone in our longings for a different world. Remind us that this is the work of generations. Remind us that although it may not always be obvious, what we do matters. And most of all, remind us that we are held by a love that is beyond our comprehension, but not beyond our reach. Together we rest into several moments of shared silence, followed by our musical meditation. Amen.
Our reading for today is A Future Not Our Own by Bishop Ken Unterer. It helps now and then to step back and take the long view. The kingdom is not only beyond our efforts, it is beyond our vision. We accomplish in our lifetime only a tiny fraction of the magnificent enterprise that is God's work. Nothing we do is complete, which is another way of saying that the kingdom always lies beyond us. No statement says all that could be said. No prayer fully expresses our faith. No confession brings perfection. No pastoral visit brings wholeness. No program accomplishes the church's mission. No set of goals and objectives includes everything. This is what we are about. We plant seeds that one day will grow. We water seeds already planted, knowing that they hold future promise. We lay foundations that will need further development. We provide yeast that produces effects beyond our capabilities. We cannot do everything, and there is a sense of liberation in realizing that. This enables us to do something, and to do it very well. It may be incomplete, but it is a beginning, a step along the way, an opportunity for God's grace to enter and do the rest. We may never see the end results, but that is the difference between the master builder and the worker. We are workers, not master builders, not ministers. We are workers, not master builders, ministers, not messiahs. We are prophets of a future not our own.
Our next testimonial will be from Katie Bittner, who reminded me of this beautiful reading. Katie.
I I don't have a good answer to what I think is possible. That's why this prayer, sometimes called the Romero Prayer, means so much to me. Some people are really amazing at seeing the promised land. I am not one of them. I'm not sure I know what is possible. I'm a nurse practitioner in primary care. It is a self-evidently broken system, and I lack the tools to fix it, by training, by temperament, and by time. If you pay attention to these things, most of the thinkers in healthcare are not in primary care. A shocking number are actually neurosurgeons. I generally assume this is because primary care is too deep in the woods to think about anything other than closing charts. But the Romero Prayer, and roughly 800 other platitudes from sources as diverse as Disney movies to baseball metaphors, reminds me that even if we can't see where we're going, we can keep taking little steps to get there. While it is infuriating to run up again and again against the problems in our healthcare system, it doesn't mean I can't do any good. It still helps to know the small but sometimes consequential tricks like which former NBA owner is now running a cut-rate generic mail-order pharmacy. It helps to know what needs to be done in order to force the gears to turn, to get that scan or get that new med. It helps to listen. It helps to take things seriously. It helps to keep trying even when we're not getting anywhere. It helps to answer messages as a digital way of being there, and that's what I try to do, because I don't have to be a genius. I don't have to know how to fix this. We cannot do everything, and there's a sense of liberation in realizing that. It enables us to do something and to do it well. It may be incomplete, but it is a beginning, a step along the way, an opportunity for the Lord's grace to enter and do the rest. We may never see the end results, but that is the difference between the master builder and the worker. I find this helps keep the burnout at bay. Figure out what we can do, and do that.
It's now time for our offertory. And I just want to say, we've envisioned a lot of things in this congregation that were possible, and they've happened. You know, solar panels on the roof, an accessible front entrance, an accessible multiple accessible bathrooms. Many people here. I mean, when I first came, there were not many people here. So our offertory is part of what makes that possible, what makes a world possible here. So I hope you will give and give generously. Part of what I need. Links to donate will be in the chat and on the screen, and ushers will be coming around if you wish to give via check or cash. Our choir will be sharing during the offertory, Circle Round for Freedom. And now an offering to sustain this congregation will be gratefully received.
Our next two reflections will be from Aileen Montour and Allison Baer, followed by Jessie Littlewood.
So we've called this Creating the Pride, Writing the Story. The story we're going to tell you today is one that began 10 years ago with just a couple of people and a wish for something that was needed but did not exist. A safe, welcoming, and affordable place for LGBTQ plus people to live as we aged. I have been part of building this community, thanks to Eileen, as a co-founder of LGBTQ Senior Housing because she invited me into this work. This journey of many years culminated in the opening of the Pride last June. The former Boston Public School, Rogers School in Hyde Park, a 100,000 square foot building that now has 74 affordable rental units, Boston's first LGBTQ plus community center, and is the first such building and community in all of New England.
So in my life, I've worked in many different jobs and played different roles, all of them satisfying in ways that I needed at those times: nurse, acupuncturist, home builder, community organizer, and even a gas station attendant for a while. And 10 years ago, I was in the right place when this seed of a vision for safe, affordable LGBTQ affirming housing began to take root in Boston. I was asked by my dear friend Philippe Saad, the original architect of the dream, and ultimately of the actual building, to join a small, newly forming group to help build community awareness and work with elected officials. What started out as a hopeful future community began to crystallize in the actual work of growing political support, defining business needs, and finding a true partner from the world of housing development and management. We pursued multiple sources of funding, gathering and sharing the stories of people from our community who described their need for a place to live and a community where they are truly free to age as their authentic selves. We received emails and letters from older LGBTQ adults afraid to be out in their senior housing or cut off from families. And we were able to share why this was so important with our neighbors through canvassing and community conversations in Hyde Park. We were able to include over 400 letters of community support to the city as part of our application to create the Pride out of a vacant school building.
So I joined this small but fiercely passionate group just over 4 years ago, right after the city had awarded us the building and we needed to raise more money. We needed to grow our presence in the LGBTQ community, and we brought on our first part-time staff member. As we cleaned out the old school prior to construction, we created what we called the Pride Giveaway Days, making the desks and computers, books and microscopes, art boards, paper supplies, folding chairs, and kitchen equipment from the old cafeteria available to the local community, to neighbors and small businesses. All things that actually were headed for the dumpster until we intervened, and which connected our work and our story beyond just our own organization. When vandals defaced the signs with hateful graffiti shortly after our groundbreaking in 2022, we had an outpouring of strength and presence that exact same afternoon from neighbors and elected officials, all gathering to support us. My role on the board has largely been to write grants and to help grow necessary systems, as our staff is now 4 and soon to be 5, and as we map out our next steps and our possible new sites. What has been most gratifying, most amazing, and really clear is that even as we do the daily details of offering programs and housing people, is the shared story we are writing together. Our community center has hosted gatherings from Hyde Park public health planning groups to author readings to the Trans Day of Remembrance Ball. Eileen and Philippe, as the founding board members, built what is truly a diverse board with 13 members from all parts of our community: age, gender identity, race, ethnicity, and talent. It is a true gift to work with people of wide-ranging skills, knowledge, and expertise in this work, from our most senior to our youngest members, who are going to carry us into the future.
We are truly a team of pragmatic, persistent idealists who really do believe another world is possible, and we're working to make it so. We now have 60 Pride residents, including 8 who came from homelessness or insecure housing environments, and 3 who now live in community-based supportive housing, but would otherwise be living in institutional settings. We are a vibrant community resource where our LGBTQ and Hyde Park neighbors can meet, take classes, share meals, create art, and celebrate together. A beloved community, here and now for all of us. For many years, my meditation or prayer to the universe has been, let me know how I best might serve and grant me the means and ability to provide that service. The Pride Project was clearly the answer to that prayer. For even longer, I've been wearing a lapel pin given to me by friends that reads, "Practice justice." My mother looked at it and added, "and love." But I do believe that justice is love, love in action, love in public. This whole project has been a mission, a calling, and a labor of love. It has enriched my life and brought great joy and purpose. And I'm sure this story will continue to have many more happy chapters. Thank you.
Hello all. I'm Jesse Littlewood. I am been a member of TPC for a few years now. I'm Johanna Littlewood's husband and Rudy and Avelina's father. I didn't grow up in the Unitarian Church, but joined this community when our kids were young, seeking a place to help us navigate parenting and a life with strong community and an exploration of our values. I've been asked to share about building the world I want to see, and the truth is, I spend a lot of time worrying about the world our next generations will inherit. More than is healthy, I'm sure. Political polarization, environmental destruction, the rise of authoritarianism are all on my keep me up at night list. Tuning out or the comfort of cynicism becomes pretty attractive. Hope, on the other hand, feels like hard work. But I know I can't let my kids grow up to be cynical, so I can't be cynical myself. The first step in building the world I want to see is choosing not to give up, even when that is hard. Having some impressionable young people around reminds me of why that matters. The world I believe is possible isn't a world that is particularly simple. When I was a kid, I wanted to know through history who the good guys were and who the bad guys were, and life seemed a lot clearer that way. I sometimes get those same questions from my kids today, and our politics and culture certainly reinforce that kind of black and white thinking. Unitarianism teaches that there's good in everyone, and I'll admit this is a hard one, even the next occupant of the White House. I'm certain I wouldn't be so nuanced without feeling that responsibility to be consistent with the values I support around young folks. So that's part of the world that I want, where we are all balancing two truths. We each have the freedom to make our own choices, but we're also responsible for that impact of those choices. I've come to think of this as the Lego issue, as in, sure, you can make your own choice to spread Legos over every single surface of our house, but you do need to clean them up. This succeeds about 1% of the time and typically results me in hopping around on one foot yelling, ouch. My own story of working to build the world I want to see has become enriched by the experience of having young folks in my life, particularly that we have to embrace the contradictions and complexity instead of getting some kind of cheat sheet for morality. I'm trying to live out the values I hope my kids will carry forward, including understanding what's actually needed to solve the big problems. So, for example, we recycle, we bring reusable bags to the grocery store, we pick up garbage on the street because we care about the planet. But I also want my kids to understand that while these small actions reflect our values, real change requires collective effort, requires some strategy, and the life and the world we're building requires balancing personal responsibility with the understanding that systemic issues like big industrial pollution need collective effort. And that's going to require joining with people you don't agree on everything with. And that's a challenging complexity, living our values while recognizing the need for harder solutions and bigger picture strategy for the big problems. I hope my kids grow up with the courage to build something meaningful, even in the messiness and complexity of life. One where you can hold on to your own values, but also work side by side with people you frequently disagree with. One where you can make mistakes, and one where we hold on to hope. As for me, I'll keep trying as well, even if it means stepping on a few errant, left-out Legos along the way.
Before we sing our closing hymn, can we just have a round of applause and gratitude for those who shared today? After each one, I saw people be like, that was so good. I want to, do we clap? Do we not clap? Thank you, everybody who shared. It was really wonderful to hear your reflections. Let's close with our final hymn, 1028, Fire of Commitment. It's in your teal hymnal if you'd like to read along the music, and it'll be up on the screen as well. Friends, as we go forth, may we remember that each of our stories weaves together into a larger story, that we each have a part to play in ordinary and profound ways, and that there is another world that is beyond our vision and beyond our efforts, but we know in our hearts is possible. May it be so, and amen. I have several announcements to share with us today, so please buckle in. If you're joining us for coffee hour this morning, if you're able to joining us in person, please join us for coffee hour right next door in the parish hall. And if you're on Zoom today, I invite you to stick around for some breakout groups. I want to make a note about, especially for folks joining us on Zoom, we know that our sound system has been having a lot of problems, both in the sanctuary and on Zoom, and I just want to let folks on Zoom know that we are working hard to fix them, but part of the delay is that we are not able to get the tech people out, the service people out, until at earliest the end of January. So please bear with us. Huge gratitude to Jonathan and to Brian and to Joel, who have been doing a huge amount of work on the sound system. Yeah, thank you. And we are very grateful for your patience as we continue to troubleshoot. It seems like we fix one problem and a new one comes up, so we're in kind of that situation at the moment. Coming up in February, we are going to have a special meeting where we vote to whether or not the congregation wants to take a public stand to expose private jet expansion. It became apparent last week that we need to also widely share that in order to vote at that special meeting, you need to be a member, which means that you need to have signed the membership book of TPC. So if you are interested in being able to vote and therefore becoming a member prior to that February 9th meeting, you need to see me, to talk to me to sign the book before February 2nd, which is when we're going to figure out how many people are officially members, what the quorum is going to need to be. So please see me if you would like to become a member prior to that special meeting. This afternoon, Rose and I will be leading a workshop, a drop-in reflection space that we're going to do about once a month to reflect on our monthly theme. So if you're interested in exploring our monthly theme of story a little bit more deeply, exploring how it resonates in your own life, hearing other people's stories about story, please join us this afternoon from 12 to 1 in the parlor. And we'll be doing that about once a month this spring as we go through different themes each month. This coming week, there are 2 Zoom meetings to let you know about. One is if you are interested in learning more about our relationship, Theodore Parker Church's relationship with Plazuelas, the community in El Salvador, that is our sibling community. There will be a Zoom meeting on Tuesday night at 6:30 to talk more about that relationship and what that could look like. And then Diana's List, which is our group that focuses on Middle East solidarity issues, will be meeting on Wednesday night at 6:30. Both of those links will be on TPC Talk the day of the meeting, or people can contact Kevin Murray. We are about to remove the poinsettias in the sanctuary, so if you purchased a poinsettia in memory of a loved one and you would like to take it home, please do so right after the service today. Otherwise, they will be returned to the earth in the form of compost. And lastly, 2 more things. January 26th is the day to bring back your guest at your table boxes. So if you took home one of those guest at your table boxes and you would like to make a donation to that fundraiser, please get that in by January 26th, and you can see Jake Bittner. We'll also be at coffee hour. And also at coffee hour on January 26th, we are going to have a potluck in lieu of coffee hour. So we are going to have a sign-up sheet available on TPC Talk and in the newsletter. It's already up. We would love help with setup and cleanup and food, and we invite you all, whether or not you are able to bring food or help clean up, please join us for that potluck. It'll be a lovely community event. That is it for our announcements, and I hope to see you at... Yes, thank you. 1 second. I have a paper announcement. Okay, this Saturday is also our Music on Center concert, another Music on Center concert with a blues duo and also talents from Brian Cartwright and Karen Saver. Posters are available from Carol Allen if you would like to flyer local neighborhoods, and please join us for Music on Center concert this Saturday. With that, I want to thank you, Kiko, for sharing our postlude, which is another piece by Eber.